Neocons like Lindsey Graham are just salivating right now about what's happening in Iran right now, hoping for a regime change. And the ongoing protests over the weekend gave plenty of fuel to their fire. So let's talk about what's actually happening in Iran right now, because your timeline is being flooded with rage bait and all sorts of fake news clips, old clips. If you've been online the past few days, you've seen the clips that Iran is exploding, cities on fire, the people have risen up. The regime is finished. That's what you're hearing. A lot of that content is either mislabeled, it's years old, it's from a different country entirely, or it's edited to look like it's new. It's actually not. A lot of fact checkers have already tracked down where a lot of people are using older protest video from Iran. Sometimes the video is like from totally other countries. But don't let facts get in the way. So it's crazy. This is the same thing, by the way, that happened in Venezuela 2 weeks ago. All these conservative influencers just keep sharing this stuff. A friend of the show, Glenn Greenwald, called them out. He's like, hey, yeah, just keep sharing all this fake news. Like, why do you keep putting this out there? This is fake. This is years old video. But it doesn't matter. So what is real? Well, according to our sources, Iran is going dark digitally on purpose. Other news organizations have reported a nationwide blackout. When the internet goes down or is being blocked, of course, the information war gets turned up to 11. Got to fill that void. A lot of fake news, rage bait, and even satellite workarounds right now are getting squeezed. Reports today that Iran is not only shutting down normal internet traffic, but also attempting to disrupt Starlink connections. We can tell you that Starlink service is being interfered with beyond just the normal basic GPS jamming. Our own sources are telling us that foreign partners are helping Iran with this blackout, China and Russia specifically, helping to jam communications, satellite phones, satellite internet, and other links that are going out. You're hearing names like Starlink, Iridium, Inmarsat, Thuria. So if those names pop up, being blocked. What we can say, again, according to our own sources, is that Iran is in an unusually sophisticated communications clampdown right now, and on purpose, to basically close down prying eyes looking into their country and information going out of their country. It's a two-way street right now being closed down. China is the key player in this jamming equipment that's being used right now. We're also hearing reports of concerning health risks within the radius of this equipment, where it has been deployed. Just so you understand what we're talking about, like if you think like 6G is terrifying on the human body, this is like 10,000 times worse. China has flown several key let me say that again. China has flown several freight. I can't say because I'm jumping to the next word. Flights. So sky freight flights with this jamming equipment into the country. Starlink, Iridium, Globalsat, Inmarsat, Thuria. So that's the satellite communications piece as well as the internet traffic piece of all of this. We've also got an update on the number of people killed in Iran. Now, Iranian media is still publicly saying that only 500 people have been killed, with 300 injured. Our source says that's not true. It's also not true what MOSSAD and CIA and MI6 are pushing out. They're pushing out numbers that are being shared across social media to the Mockingbird media. The Mockingbird media loves to run with whatever the CIA puts out there, saying that 150,000 or 300,000 people are dead and 200,000 injured. That is also a lie. The actual number we can report, according to our sources, is 2,150 dead, 480 injured, and 620 missing as of yesterday. Those numbers are as of yesterday across 11 cities in Iran. Now, a lot to unpack here. Again, a lot. So a lot of misinformation being shared online. But hey, it also helps to actually go to Iran and report on the ground. And that's exactly what our next guest has just done. Dr. Miriam Asusli, a reporter who was just in Iran, has been covering the destructions from the last round of Israeli bombings on civilian infrastructure, specifically on residential buildings. And some of the videos that she's been sharing are just horrifying, of children's strollers strewn across the street. Horrible stuff. She goes by the name of Syrian Girl online. Doctor, great to have you here on the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really glad to be here.
So you just returned from Iran. Can you tell us, what is it like right now on the ground? What are you hearing from just the people? There's so much misinformation and disinformation and lies being spread online. What can you tell us?
Well, when I went there, everything was pretty normal. I was actually very impressed at how advanced everything was. I was able to take the metro, and here where I live, in the city I live in Australia, we actually don't have a metro system at all. So I was impressed with that. I was impressed with the infrastructure, and the fact that is I went there in my capacity as a scientist. There was a science award being given out, and I actually had to force one of the girls that were working for this science award. It's called the Mustafa Prize. It's kind of like the Nobel Prize that Iran hands out, to come with me out of this conference and go shopping, because I wanted to see things and I just didn't want to go around alone. Yeah, I was really happy to see it would, economically it seemed like business as usual. There was no blackouts. There was really nothing to protest about, because women actually, we discussed this in the conference. They were graduating university at percentages higher than men, and they were dominating in the science field. And they were talking about, we have to encourage more of our boys to pursue advanced learning, and they can walk around without scarf. I mean, I thought that going into it, I was bringing very modest clothing, and as soon as I got even into the plane, I realized that maybe I had been propagandized about how the laws are there. So like, women are able to walk around with their hair showing and nobody's getting beaten up. None of that, as we're being told in the media. So what is this protest really about? Because they're telling us like, oh, they're pushing radical feminists in our face, saying like, we want to like, I don't know if you guys remember Pussy Riots in Russia.
Yes.
And how they were, masturbating with chickens in the supermarket. And I think that that's the level of freedom that they're seeking for women. Like, they're seeking for OnlyFans to be pushed onto all Iranian women, so that like this Israeli guy, or is it like an American Zionist Jewish man, he takes all the money from OnlyFans and he gives it to Israel. And that's what they want to do. They want to open the market of females in Iran. And exploit them in the way that the rest of the world is being exploited.
Yeah, OnlyFans has been so great for American women, right? I mean, it's been, yeah. So you can imagine why a country doesn't want that kind of filth in their country, like Russia does not want that filth in their country. It's shocking. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And
sorry to interrupt.
Iran, no, please. I'm like, it's good to have banter, but yeah, Iran doesn't want that either. And I just think that what is this really about? It's about opening the economy. It's about opening the mentality of people to this hegemon, this like liberal world order, forcing them to have McDonald's, forcing them to have global like oil markets. And as they're doing now with Syria, they're controlling the oil, they're controlling the production, and they're actually shut down Syrian-owned nationalized oil refineries that are perfectly fine, so that some American company, who I forget which one it was, so I'm not going to say which one it was, can build a new one, so that they can control the outflow of oil and how much profit comes out of it. So Iran is really about Israel, because all of these wars are about Israel at the end of the day. And if you have Lindsey Graham, he will explain that to you. They want to protect the Zionist entity, unfortunately, because the Zionists in the United States are very powerful. The Zionist lobby dominates U.S. politics, and it drags the U.S. into multiple wars, including the Iraq War, including the war in Syria. And the greatest irony is, in Syria, they actually supported Al-Qaeda and all of these very oppressive to women groups. Meanwhile, women are getting kidnapped all over Syria and trafficked by the militias that are backed by Israel and the U.S.
Right.
And they pretend to care about women in Iran. It's the same story. It's about selling it to the West. It's about selling the regime change to the West.
I'm trying to connect the dots between what we actually know, because we know 2 years ago, the Washington Post exposed that the CIA through Graphica and Stanford labs were doing PSYOPs in Afghanistan and Iran to begin with. And a lot of the PSYOPs were, hey, here's a recipe, but also let's overthrow the Shah because we feel oppressed. So we will never know, because the CIA was created in order to subvert these governments. Just like in Syria, the Ba'athist government wanted prosperity for Syrians, and we couldn't have that. In Iran, there was prosperity to the point that the Shah wanted to create deserts, farmland out of deserts. They thought they had so much money that they could do that. But we don't know the will of those people. We only know what our government tells them that they would want, tells us what they want. And then the fact that they are under crippling sanctions from us. So how can we know anything other than those few facts at the nucleus of what we're trying to find out?
So this is exactly how sanctions works and how they worked in Syria. They starve people to the point where they become desperate and malleable to ideas and money from outside. So, the so-called rebel militias in Syria, like they were getting paid $150 a month by the CIA, by the Pentagon. And this is on record, like this, it's not a conspiracy theory. So please, if you look up Operation Timber Sycamore, like one of the groups they were paying ended up beheading a 12-year-old boy in Aleppo. So they, on camera. So the thing is that the sanctions are designed to cause the instability, and they blame the starvation on the government.
Well, that's what we're saying. Yeah, in our chat room, they're like, people don't have food. Someone in our chat room just said, yeah, people don't have food. They don't have water. They don't have. So again, you take away basic services through sanctions, and you make it look like it's part of the government. Is that true?
I think it's kind of accelerated since the couple of months ago that I was there, because I didn't see any issues with the water or electricity. But I've heard there's been an acute crisis of water in Iran recently. And I think I even saw some of these, CIA, MOSSAD-backed individuals purposely dumping water and wasting water as a argument against the regime. I mean, it's on Twitter if you want to see like protesters waste water. Yeah. So, luckily it's colder now. There's not going to be as much, people dying of thirst, I suppose. But this is all part of the war machine against Iran. And what we know is Netanyahu has been begging the U.S. to go to war with Iran for decades. And he's on a film doing that. And Charlie Kirk fought against that. He resisted that. And, he would have been a voice against this going on now. Yes. And my sources tell me that war is coming very shortly. And this whole attempted regime change operation, I mean, it's not just protesters. People need to understand, like in Syria as well, it wasn't just protesters. There's gun runners sending in weapons through the border. For Syria, it was through Turkey. And for Iran, it's through Iraq and Turkey, I think, because they're using Kurdish militias as well.
So you're hearing from your sources in Iran that war is coming. They are preparing for war.
No, the sources in the Middle East, I would be more specific, and that there is like some preparations, defensive preparations for war by the end of the month. I think, for Iran, unfortunately, like they're kind of they've issued a fatwa against nuclearization, saying that it's an indiscriminate weapon. And I feel that, the sites that you guys discussed where I went to inside Iran, it was locations, neighborhoods that like entire residential buildings and like surrounding residential buildings that were completely demolished because one scientist lives there. And I went there in my capacity as a scientist as well as a journalist for the Science Award. And so we visited the homes of these scientists that were murdered and their families. And they are doing peaceful nuclear power. And that is kind of helpful to the countries because it doesn't have to have any oil restrictions. It doesn't have to have any power cuts. And of course, making sure that Iran does have power cuts is something that would be beneficial to the Mossad and Israelis and the CIA, because then they can push for their color revolution. But if they have nuclear power, that's going to make it very hard to do. So, but yeah, when I say unfortunately, I do think that they should nuclearize. I do think that they should have the bomb, because I think that unfortunately we live in a world where if you don't have the bomb, your country is going to be destroyed. And Israel has illegal nuclear weapons, and there has to be some sort of a balance to that, because Israel, as we saw, is committing a genocide. It's completely unhinged. It is basically the Jewish ISIS. And, the Jewish, I like to say the Jewish state in the Levant. I think Max Blumenthal kind of coined that one. But it fits. It really fits. And so there needs to be some sort of a balance. And Iran once it's taken out, that balance is gone.
Well, I mean, think about the logic here. It would be hysterical if it wasn't about human lives, because Israel's saying, and the United States are saying, we really care about Iranian lives, and we don't want to see this protest, and it's about us. And you're like, how is it about you at all? But okay, you're going to sell me this idea. We really care about Iranians, so we're going to bomb them with a nuke. I cannot, I don't understand. We really care about spiders, so we're going to use Raid and kill all those. Can you follow this? What logical person could?
It's like King George in the Hamilton musical, where he's like, I will
kill your friends and family to remind you of my love. Yes.
Right, I'm going to send a fully armed battalion to remind you of my love. Like, that's what it sounds like. Lindsey Graham will come save you.
I'm going to have to. That sounds hilarious and very accurate.
Right. Yeah, so what idiot follows that? Like, oh, yes, we love them. Let's bomb their country for their safety.
If you were to look at X, you would think that millions of idiots follow that. And I wonder if the amount of my video has been getting almost 1 million views, and I've gotten interviews because of it. But I wonder, I see some very fake videos getting 60,000 views, and it turns out it's a bunch of men throwing Molotov cocktails in the street, tens of Molotov cocktails, and you think, whoa, this is chaos. It turns out it's from Greece from a month ago. And I'm like, okay, why didn't I hear about these riots in Greece a month ago? Why isn't that all over the news? This seemed like it was huge. It seemed like it was a regime change, world-ending thing that we never even heard about, but we're hearing about it now because it's being applied to Iran.
Well, Mossad and the CIA are working overtime in these propaganda campaigns. I mean, we spoke to a CIA whistleblower who said, the CIA has an entire division devoted to this, to pushing these videos out. Mossad, I mean, we know now under Netanyahu, they are actively working with the CIA in pushing out fake news and fake social media accounts and fake videos. So they'll have accounts that are a year old, and they'll use those accounts and they'll push out these fake videos. And so the bot army is very, very strong right now, pushing for this war.
And I wonder if American lives are going to be affected because of this war, because I think that Israel cannot fight this war with Iran by itself. Last time we saw the U.S. intervene, and this time Iran has said that if the U.S. intervenes, they will retaliate at U.S. Positions. They have their fleet in the Persian Gulf, and they have been affected previously. Look at Iraq when the U.S. assassinated Soleimani, General Soleimani. The Iranians completely decimated a U.S. military base. It was actually occupied by the U.S. military, but it was built by Saddam Hussein, Al-Assad Air Base. And while the airbase was flattened, the only reason people survived was because they hid in a bunker that was built by Saddam Hussein to sustain airstrikes from the United States. So, so Iran is capable of inflicting damage. They just chose to avoid targeting the U.S. because they know that the real hand behind this all is Israel. And this is not a beef between them and the United States.
Yeah. So Yeah, we got to wrap it. I want to get you out of here. Thank you. You've been so gracious with your time. I want to go back real quick on one thing you said. Your sources in the Middle East are telling you that war is coming to Iran by the end of the month, and we have heard separately here at Redacted from sources in Israel, who have told us the very same thing, the 30th or the 31st of January, and of course President Trump likes to, when he wages one of these wars, likes to start it or on a Friday night into a Saturday morning. When the markets are closed, that would be the 30th of January, 31st of January. So that's what you're hearing as well?
That or before that.
All right, Doctor. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Thanks for your boots on the ground experience in Iran. Thank you for sharing that. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. And thanks a lot.
Thank you.
For peace for all of us.
Yes. Yes.